At 43, Elena Martinez was invisible, not literally invisible, but you know that feeling? When you walk into a room and no one really sees you? She had the steady job, the decent paycheck, the routine. Wake up, work, come home, repeat. For 19 years, she did exactly what she was supposed to do. She played it safe. She stayed small. And then one day, she made a choice, one choice, not a massive plan, not a perfect strategy, just one decision that changed absolutely everything. Today, she's a published author, a keynote speaker. She's traveled to 23 countries sharing her message, and it all started with one moment, one choice, one sentence she said out loud that terrified her. This isn't a story about having it all figured out. It's about believing you're worth more than invisible. Let's go back to where Elena was. 43 years old, administrative manager at a mid-sized insurance company in Phoenix, Arizona. Not a bad job. Not exciting either. She processed claims, managed schedules, kept things running. Her coworkers liked her. Her boss trusted her. She never caused problems. On paper, everything was fine. But here's what no one saw. Elena had a notebook. A thick, worn-out notebook she kept in her desk drawer. Inside, pages and pages of stories, ideas, thoughts, dreams she'd been writing since she was 22. For 21 years, she wrote in that notebook during lunch breaks, on weekends, late at night when everyone was asleep. She never showed anyone. Because who was she to think she could be a writer? She didn't have an English degree. She wasn't published. She didn't have connections. She was just Elena, the admin manager who kept the office running. Her sister once asked her, "Why don't you try submitting something? Maybe a blog, a magazine?" And Elena laughed it off. "Me? A writer? Come on." But the truth was scarier than that. She didn't believe she had anything worth saying. She didn't believe anyone would care. She didn't believe in herself. So the notebook stayed hidden, and the years kept passing. 43 became her wake-up call. It started with something small, a random Tuesday morning. Elena was sitting in a staff meeting. Someone was talking about quarterly goals, process improvements, the usual, and she looked around the table, and she thought, "Is this it? Is this my whole life?" Not in a dramatic crisis way, just quiet, like a whisper. She went home that night and opened the notebook. She read through pages she'd written years ago. Stories about women who took risks, who bet on themselves, who chose to be seen. And she realized something. She'd been writing about the life she wanted, but never living it. Funny moment, her husband walked in and saw her crying over the notebook. He panicked. "What happened? Did someone die?" She looked up and said, "Yeah, me. I've been dead for 19 years. He had no idea what to say to that. But Elena knew. Something had to change. 2 weeks later, Elena did something she'd never done before. She signed up for a local writer's workshop. Just a weekend thing, nothing fancy. Held in a community center with folding chairs and bad coffee. But for Elena, it was terrifying because she'd have to share her writing, out loud, to strangers. She almost didn't go. Saturday morning, she sat in her car outside the building for 20 minutes. Her hands were shaking. She kept thinking, what if they laugh? What if it's terrible? What if I'm just embarrassing myself? But then she thought about that notebook, 21 years of hidden words, and she walked in. The workshop leader, an older woman named Joan, asked everyone to introduce themselves and share why they were there. When it was Elena's turn, she froze. Her voice came out quiet, shaky. "I'm Elena. I've been writing for 21 years, but I've never shown anyone." Joan looked at her, really looked at her, and she said, "Then today's the day." Elena read 3 pages from her notebook, a story about a woman who spent her whole life waiting for permission to be herself. When she finished, the room was silent. Elena wanted to disappear, but then someone started clapping, then another person, then the whole room. Joan walked over and said, "You need to finish that, and you need to publish it." Elena laughed. "Publish? I don't," Joan interrupted. "You don't have to believe it yet, but I do, so write it anyway." That was the moment, the choice. Elena could go home, close the notebook, and go back to invisible, or she could believe, just for a second, that maybe Joan was right. She chose to believe. Funny moment. That night, her husband asked how the workshop went. Elena said, "I think I'm writing a book." He looked up from his phone. "A book? Like a whole book?" "Yeah." He paused. "Cool. What's for dinner?" Classic. But Elena didn't need him to understand yet. She just needed to start. So she did. Every morning before work, she woke up at 5 a.m. and wrote. Not because she had it all figured out. Not because she knew how to get published. But because for the first time in 21 years, she believed her words mattered. That one choice, To walk into that workshop, to read out loud, to believe Joan changed everything. Because belief isn't something you wait to feel, it's something you choose. And Elena chose it. So Elena started writing her book. And here's what no one tells you about believing in yourself. It's not one big moment, it's 1,000 tiny choices. Every single day she had to choose belief over doubt. It took Elena 14 months to finish her first draft. 14 months of waking up at 5 a.m., writing before work, rewriting on weekends. Some days the words flowed, most days they didn't. But she kept going. Because Joan's words stayed with her, you don't have to believe it yet, just write it anyway. When she finally typed, "the end," she cried. Not because it was perfect, but because she'd actually done it. She'd finished something. For the first time in her life, she hadn't quit on herself. Elena started sending her manuscript to literary agents. She researched, she wrote query letters, she hit send with hope. And then the rejections came, one after another. Not the right fit. Not what we're looking for. Pass. After 30 rejections, Elena sat at her kitchen table and cried. Her husband sat down next to her. "Maybe it's a sign," she said. "Maybe I'm not supposed to do this." He looked at her. Or maybe it's just not the right agent yet. He'd never said anything like that before, but it was exactly what she needed to hear, so she kept sending. And on rejection number 47, something changed. An agent wrote back, "I love your voice. Let's talk." Elena screamed so loud her neighbor knocked on the door to see if she was okay. Funny moment. When she told her sister said, "Wait, people actually read those query letters? I thought it was like a spam folder." The agent offered representation. They worked on revisions together. And 6 months later, they had a book deal, a real publisher, a real contract. Elena was going to be a published author. The book came out a year later. It was called Permission to be Seen. And something unexpected happened. People connected with it. Women in their 40s and 50s reached out to Elena. They said things like, "This is my story. I've been hiding too. Thank you for writing this." Elena started getting invited to speak at book clubs, then libraries, then conferences. At first, she was terrified. She'd never spoken in public before. But she remembered belief is a choice, so she said yes. Her first keynote speech, she was shaking the entire time. But afterwards, 3 women came up to her in tears. One of them said, "I've been sitting on a business idea for 10 years. After hearing you, I'm starting tomorrow." That's when Elena realized something. Her story wasn't just about her anymore. It was about everyone who'd been invisible, everyone who didn't believe they had something worth sharing, and by choosing to believe in herself, she gave other people permission to do the same. Here's what Elena learned through this whole journey. Believing in yourself doesn't mean you're fearless. It doesn't mean you have all the answers. It doesn't mean you never doubt yourself. It means you choose to move forward anyway. Every time Elena faced a moment of doubt, and there were hundreds, she asked herself one question: what would I do if I believed I was worth it? And then she did that thing. When she didn't know how to write a book, she wrote it anyway. When agents rejected her, she kept sending. When speaking terrified her, she said yes anyway. Because belief isn't a feeling you wait for. It's a decision you make, over and over and over again. And every time you choose it, it gets a little easier. Not because the fear goes away, but because you prove to yourself that you can do hard things, that you're capable, that you matter. Elena didn't need the world to believe in her first. She just needed to believe in herself. And once she did, everything else followed. So where is Elena now? She's 49. She's published 2 books, both bestsellers in their category. She speaks at conferences around the world. She's been to 23 countries. She runs writing workshops where she helps other people finish the books they've been hiding. And here's the part that gets me. She still has that original notebook, the one she kept hidden for 21 years. But now, it sits on a shelf in her office where everyone can see it. Because it's not a secret anymore. It's proof. Proof that you can spend 2 decades invisible and still choose to be seen. Let's be honest. This wasn't all sunshine and book deals. Elena gave up things too. She gave up sleeping in. She gave up weekends where she did nothing. She gave up the comfort of staying small. Some of her old co-workers don't get it. They think she's trying too hard, that she's changed, and she has, but not in the way they mean. She didn't become someone new. She became who she always was, but buried. But here's what she got in return. She wakes up every day and does work that matters to her. She gets emails from women who say, "Your book changed my life." She gets to travel. She gets to write. She gets to speak. But the biggest thing, she's no longer invisible. not to the world, and not to herself. Funny moment, her husband, the same guy who asked, "What's for dinner?" when she said she was writing a book, now introduces her at parties like this. "This is my wife, Elena. She's a best-selling author." Elena always laughs. "You didn't believe me at first." He grins. "I believe you now." Elena will tell you, it's not perfect. Some months the book sales are slow. Some speaking gigs don't pay much. She still has moments where she thinks, am I really doing this? Am I actually good enough? But here's the difference. Now, when that doubt shows up, she doesn't let it decide for her. She acknowledges it, and then she chooses belief anyway. Because she's done the thing she was most afraid of. She's been visible, she's been seen, and the world didn't end. In fact, it got better, way better. And if she can do it, after 21 years of hiding, after 47 rejections, after a lifetime of playing small, then maybe, just maybe, you can too. So what's the lesson here? It's not believe in yourself and everything will be easy, because it won't be. It's not just think positive and your dreams will come true, because that's not how it works. The lesson is this. Belief is a choice you make before you have proof. You don't wait until you're ready. You don't wait until you're confident. You don't wait until someone else tells you you're good enough. You choose to believe, and then you act like it's true. Elena didn't feel like a writer when she walked into that workshop. She didn't feel like an author when she sent out those query letters. She didn't feel like a speaker when she said yes to that first keynote. But she did it anyway. And every time she chose belief over doubt, she built evidence. Evidence that she could do hard things. Evidence that she mattered, evidence that she was worth being seen. And now, she has a life she's proud of. Not because it's perfect, but because it's hers. So here's my question for you. What have you been hiding? What's your version of that notebook? What would you do if you believed you were worth it? Maybe it's starting a business. Maybe it's going back to school. Maybe it's finally sharing your art, your music, your ideas. Whatever it is, you don't need permission. You just need to choose belief. One choice? That's all it takes to start. If this story hit you, drop a comment. Tell me, what's the one thing you've been hiding? And if you love real stories about real people choosing to bet on themselves, subscribe. I share these every week because the world needs more people like Elena. People who choose to be seen, people who choose belief, people like you. Thanks for watching. In the next video, I'm telling you about a man who failed 10 times. 10 separate attempts, 10 crushing defeats, but on the 11th try, he became unstoppable. His story will prove that persistence isn't about never falling. It's about getting up one more time than you fall. Watch it next.